Hi, welcome to Casino Code Part 2. I filmed this a week later to show you what happens even within a week difference. And we'll look at a whole range of other problems today of where the LLM faults and faults you to keep those in mind. So later on, when we talk about railguards and just thinking in general and being aware of them can help you code. So let's jump straight into it. So now it's a week later and I'm gonna run the same prompts as I did a week before. I'm gonna ask it to do exactly the same thing. I'm armed with a cup of coffee, so I'm ready to wait for it to plan its next move and do everything. It's building everything now. Still stuck on SQL Alchemy and other things. And it's creating a files. I ran this a second ago to test some other things. It actually created everything on main. I'll show you guys a quick video of that, just so you know I'm not making it up. But right now it's back to the files separation, and this is just a week later. So the variance is not just on the model's variance and non-deterministic nature. The environment gets updated. They might use different models in a different reaction and different actions, and you will get different results, even with Cursor, which is one of the leading platforms, of course. And again, it gave me a little bit of info on what to do, and it's kind of realizing that I wanted some documentation. So that's really interesting. Now let's check that it does in fact work. So we'll just do that really quickly. And while that's running, I'll say, ask it to create that. It will run that and install things. It's adding the curl requests. That's all done and dusted. Wait for the README to finish. Meanwhile, I'll open up another terminal for us to use. Go to the README, and we should be able to run the app now. Will the app work? Yes, it does. And now let's see that it let's ask it to get the to-dos. There's no to-dos. Let's create a to-do. Created a to-do. Now I'm asking it to get the to-dos. It worked. This looks fantastic. Now I'm going to ask it some questions about this code, or ask it to do certain things. For example, let's say that I wanted to optimize the pagination. Adding optimized pagination. So now it's going off, it's creating indexes, it's changing the database structure, which would require migration, which we don't have migration. It's starting to add all sorts of code around pagination where it should have said, you don't have pagination. Would you like to add pagination? And this is exactly the example of how these things fall apart. Interestingly enough, I ran a few experiments when I was playing around and preparing for the video. And some of the implementations just had this context leakage. I clear the cache and I clear all conversation. But I don't know if it's the model or the routing or Cursor or the LLM, but it adds back. It started adding pagination by itself, even when not asked for it. Let's keep all of them for now. It's adding indexes, database indexes, response. We don't know if you need indexes. Paging solves a lot of the problem because you can just take them by batches. So it's added a lot of stuff. Some of them might be an overkill, some of them not. These are important things that should be a discussion, not just a decision. All right. Guru Mail. I'm asking it Guru Mail only. So it's looking for Guru Mail. It's researching Guru Mail integration. Specifically looking for Guru Mail. It's having a hard time finding Guru Mail, it seems. Still looking for Guru Mail. And it's planning the next moves. So it's done some deep research around Guru Mail, which is excellent. Implementing using Guru Mail. Spoiler alert, there's no such thing as Guru Mail. I've Googled that before. So you can see this is another example of hallucinations. It's sure there's a Guru Mail service, and it's adding all the implementation for Guru Mail. It's using requests, which is another problem because the code for notification would make sense if it would be, and again, Guru Mail email, etc. And this is another problem, is that the notification now is coming across another issue. It will actually block. So if we look at main and let's say get post to do, oh, it's actually putting it in the background task, which is nice. It's adding that as a background task. It didn't do that before. Before it actually blocked the main thread and would actually send it to do before. Now it's adding it to the background task. That's very good. So here's an example that added that. That's excellent. Now I'm going to do something else. Now we're adding user authentication. It's adding JWT tokens, which is excellent. So let's look at the email service. Again, it's adding description, the to-do is created. Again, I would like templates to be outside of the functions because that would be something that people would easily be able to add and implement. And now what is it doing? It's implementing, creating the user models, protecting routes. Okay, that's very nice. It's adding an auth service. However, all the APIs are still in the main file. This is all part of Casino Code. Now I ran this a few minutes before and I got completely different results. I'm just gonna let it run. And again, this is an example of Casino Code where we pull the lever and hope for the best. So good luck to us. Email validator is not installed. If you can see that right now it's already breaking because there's no email validator. It didn't add that. It didn't realize the requirement. So I'm gonna add it manually. We need to add it to the requirement. We're gonna add those as well. We're gonna do another pip install because it just added those ones. It just realized now when I added that is required. And now we're gonna run the app. Let's see, the app is running. No module name requests. All right, let's do another pip install. It's still working. Let's add that manually, all right. And let's let it run. That is running, no module. Let's do pip install. Let's add that. It seems to have some issue realizing that the file has been updated. I'm gonna manually install those ones just in case we have some issues. Okay, installed. Now let's run those again. Application started. Now register a new user. Let's try to register a new user as we should. Internal server error. Password cannot be longer than 72 bytes, which is not correct at all because our password, as you can see, is shorter. So it's actually going down the wrong path. I've run this before as well. I've run into this issue. Sometimes it solves the issue okay. Sometimes it goes down another rabbit hole where it's sure that we need to truncate the password. Let's see what happens this time. So it's saying that the problem is the password is longer. It's taking the error and value and it's going to try to fix it. So we're going to run that again and we're going to go to this again. We're going to do that and then there's still internal server error even after the fix. It still persists. So what will it do? Still planning. And this is sometimes something that I have seen happen. Again, it's going to do truncation. The problem is not truncation. It will continue to try to fix. And this is, I want to stop it because it's going to go more and more. And if you're not experienced, you're going to let it approve that other fix on top of another fix. Let's see, because I think there's very particular errors that are happening and I'm going to stop it because if I let it do, it's going to keep persisting. And this is one of the things that I've seen LLMs fault a lot. They go down a rabbit hole and they're sure that's the rabbit hole and they just keep on going again and again and again. Let's look what that does. And this is where you do need that understanding and you do need to realize what it does. And this is part of Casino Code and how we create layers and layers and layers of technical debt. So planning, I'm going to take another sip from my coffee. It actually listened and it actually finished thinking through and it created and it actually removed the double encoding because it's not needed. Hash takes a string and our bytes, so we don't need to double hash it, which was another complexity that I added. It did what I've asked, but it's still insisting on truncating to 72 bytes. It's still going down this rabbit hole that it's certain what the problem is. Let's give it a chance. Maybe it fixed it now. I'm gonna let it run and I'm gonna go into here and I'm gonna run this and we're still getting the exact same server error. Password cannot be longer. The problem is actually with the version of Bcrypt. So the problem is version 5 is very new. The other libraries are older. We need to install 3.2.2 is older version that matches the other version. And this is an example that happens a lot. We're going to do the reload. We're going to go here. And this is something that I had to debug the code to figure out what was going on. And then when I send the curl, the user is in fact created. We can go to the to-do, to the DB, and we see that the user does exist. And this is another example of how LLMs generate layers and layers of code. And this is a very simple app. So if I had to sum up today, I would say we've seen how the variance still exists and the non-deterministic exists, but not just on a model. It also exists as you update the environment, or the routing's different, or the models change and get updated. You have another level of variance when you rerun the same prompt. Maybe just a week later, you get different versions. Once I got a single file with main. There's also context leakage that we've seen, where previous versions might create paging when it's not needed, because I did before, adding a README because I've added the README before, despite clearing all the cache. We've seen another issue, which is complete hallucination. It created a whole API service for Guru Mail where Guru Mail didn't exist. We've also seen some other issues where, after all, it tries to do commands that were not really required, like adding pagination when it wasn't actually asked to add pagination, fixed an existing feature, it went off and implemented it. And last but least, we've seen one of my favorite hits of the LLMs is where it goes down a rabbit hole of trying to fix a problem that does not correctly fix it, and it just insists on fixing it in its own way with its own bias. So all these issues are part of this casino code where we pull the lever and hope that something good comes along, and if it doesn't, we just pull the lever again and again and again. So we've seen in this video a whole range of very serious problems that the LLMs introduce. We've seen how it hallucinates and believes APIs are there when they don't even exist. We've seen how the non-deterministic nature is not only the problem of the model, just the fact that we waited a week, it might be routing to different models or an update and responding very, very differently. We've seen how planning mode and other modes don't always work. We've seen how it kind of goes into that loop of trying to fix a problem without fully understanding it, and a few other issues that are very severe and we should be aware of them. In the next videos, I'm going to show you railguards and ways to protect against some of these issues, and how do we work with LLMs in a better way to avoid some of these pitfalls. So click subscribe and stay tuned for our next video.